Welcome to Future Trends, where we examine the latest stories reshaping tomorrow's international dynamics. This week's headlines. Xi tells Trump Taiwan's return key to post-war order. ISIS-linked rebels kill 89 civilians in eastern Congo. India's exports jump as trade tensions ease. Malaysia to ban social media for children under 16. New pinprick test may predict disease. Starting with politics, UK warning after Russian spy ship targets RAF pilots with lasers. Britain accused the Russian ship Yantar of spying on Britain's underwater cables and aiming lasers at RAF pilots, prompting heightened surveillance amid rising Russian incursions and broader sabotage across NATO-linked infrastructure. More than 200,000 protest corruption in Philippine flood control projects. An audit revealed mismanagement, substandard work, and concentration of contracts among a few firms. Authorities have frozen assets and planned prosecutions. Banned Bosnian Serb leader Dodik's party wins snap presidential elections. Bosnian Serb politician Sinisa Karan, the candidate backed by dismissed entity president Dodik, won a snap election with 50.89% of the vote. Preliminary results showed his main rival, Branko Blanusa, secured 47.81%. Main opposition barred in Guinea-Bissau vote. President Embalo, a 53-year-old former army general seeking a second term, is backed by a political coalition of more than 20 groups, but the main opposition party has been barred from running. Point. Former Reform UK politician jailed for taking bribes from pro-Russians. A British former member of the European Parliament and ex-leader of the populist Reform UK in Wales was jailed for more than 10 years after admitting taking about $52,344 in bribes to make pro-Russian speeches and statements. Moving to stories in conflict, China's Xi tells Trump Taiwan's return key to post-war order. During an unexpected call between the two leaders, Xi told Trump that Taiwan's return to China is a key part of Beijing's vision for the world order. China and the United States once fought side by side against fascism and militarism and should now work together to safeguard the outcomes of World War II, Xi was quoted as saying by China's official Xinhua news agency. Point. ISIS-linked rebels kill 89 civilians in eastern Congo. A series of attacks by Islamic State-affiliated ADF rebels across North Kivu's Lubero territory targeted villages and a Catholic health center as regional conflicts and rebel activity continue to destabilize eastern Congo. Point. Israel kills Hezbollah military leader in Beirut strike. The attack, which killed Chief of Staff Haytham Tabatabai in the southern suburbs of Beirut, also killed 4 others and injured 25. The strike is Israel's first on southern Beirut for months, despite a ceasefire that came into effect last November. 6 airlines halt flights to Venezuela after US warning. Spain's Iberia, Portugal's TAP, Chile's LATAM, Colombia's Avianca, Brazil's GOL and Trinidad and Tobago's Caribbean have suspended flights after the US aviation regulator warned of dangers from heightened military activity amid a major buildup of US forces in the region. The US also said it would designate Cartel de los Soles, or Cartel of the Suns, as a foreign terrorist organization for the network's alleged role in importing illegal drugs into the US. Point. European Union opens case against Slovakia over constitutional change. The European Commission said Slovakia was in breach of European Union law after the country amended its constitution to assert national sovereignty over matters such as gender and family law. And looking at the latest trending stories in economics, India's US exports jump as trade tensions ease. India's exports to the US rose 14.5% in October to $6.3 billion, despite 50% US tariffs and penalties linked to Russian oil purchases. Smartphone and pharmaceutical shipments likely drove the rebound, though exports to the US remain far below May levels. US economy added more jobs than forecast in September. September's official employment report, delayed since the start of October by the government shutdown, shows non-farm payroll employment rose by 119,000 for the month, more than twice as many jobs as expected. But factory activity slowed to a 4-month low in November, as higher prices due to tariffs on imports restrained demand, leading to rising unsold goods that could hinder growth in the overall economy. Point. 30 Colombian pesos, 5 key climate takeaways. Many countries were upset when COP30 in Belém, Brazil ended with no mention of the fossil fuels that have heated up the atmosphere, while oil-exporting nations were happy. The summit was a reality check on just how much global consensus has broken down over what to do about climate change. Bitcoin mining in China rebounds, defying 2021 ban. Bitcoin mining is quietly staging a comeback in China, despite being banned 4 years ago, as individual and corporate miners exploit cheap electricity and a data center boom in some energy-rich provinces. China had been the world's biggest crypto mining country until Beijing banned all cryptocurrency trading and mining in 2021, citing threats to the country's financial stability and energy conservation. Point. Brazil Centbank to offer $2 billion in dollar auctions. The Brazilian central bank said it will offer up to $2 billion in $2 auctions with repurchase agreements. By conducting rollover auctions, the central bank guarantees liquidity in the currency market and prevents additional demand for US dollars from pressuring the Brazilian real. Now for news in development. New blood tests may predict disease risk 10 years in advance. The world's largest study is paving the way for simple pinprick tests that can detect early disease signs before symptoms appear. The project measured proteins, sugars, fats, and other compounds, creating detailed metabolic profiles that can predict risks for diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and dementia. Point. EU proposes softening AI and data privacy regulations. The European Commission unveiled new proposals to ease regulations on AI and data privacy. While the EU has for years sought to rein in tech companies, it is also attempting to balance this with the need to compete with tech firms in the US and East Asia. Point. G20 declaration marks rare victory for multilateralism. The group of 20 major economies scored a rare victory this weekend for multilateralism after overcoming the boycott and objections of its most powerful member, the US. South Africa, this year's G20 president, rallied all but 2 member nations, the US and Argentina, to issue a declaration, ignoring Washington's warnings and quelling questions about the G20's future, at least for now. Point. Malaysia to ban social media for children under 16 next year. Malaysia is joining Australia and a growing number of countries pushing tighter digital age limits for children. Cabinet approved the move as part of a broader effort to shield young people from online harm like cyberbullying, scams, and sexual exploitation. Point. New breakthrough drug treatment for TB. A new tuberculosis treatment could improve cure rates and reduce treatment time by several months. The antibiotic sufequilin showed stronger action against TB bacteria than existing treatments. Finally, our social news. Ultra-processed food linked to harm in every major organ. UPF is also rapidly displacing fresh food in the diets of children and adults on every continent and is associated with an increased risk of a dozen health conditions, including obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and depression. Klimt painting record sale. Portrait of Elizabeth Lederer, painted between 1914 and 1916, sold for a record-breaking $236.4 million, making it the most expensive work of modern art ever sold at auction, behind only Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, which sold for $450,300,000 in 2017. New U.S. rules say countries with diversity policies are infringing human rights. Countries enforcing race or gender diversity, equity and inclusion, DEI policies, or those subsidizing abortion or facilitating mass migration, will now be at risk of the US administration deeming them as infringing on human rights. Children groomed for murder through video games, Europol warns. Criminal networks are weaponizing children to commit torture and murder by recruiting them through multiplayer video games and smartphones. And parents often have no idea what's happening, the boss of Europe's law enforcement agency warns. Israel to admit thousands from India's Jewish lost tribe. About 5,800 members of the Bnei Menashe community, an ethnic community from the northeastern Indian states of Mizoram and Manipur, are expected to move to the Galilee region, which has been heavily affected by conflict with Lebanon's Hezbollah militant group, with tens of thousands of residents leaving the area in recent years. That's your Future Trends update for this week. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with more stories reshaping our world.